Hello again, everybody, and welcome into the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score. It is the day after, as we are recording this podcast. This is the Monday after the Bears' 31-27 playoff win over the Green Bay Packers. The Bears will advance on to play the LA Rams. The difference in this podcast relative to the Sunday podcast is Dan Wiederer is here. He is here with us in person. Danny boy, how are you?
I'm great. Still trying to process everything that was on Saturday night at Soldier Field. Every time you have a new conversation with somebody about that game, whether it be somebody else in the media, a friend that was at the game, somebody that was watching on TV, they bring up something new that you forgot about. And you're like, oh yeah, that happened in that game. This is a game, Mark, that we're going to be talking about for decades just because of how many layers there were to it. And there's so many little miniature details within this game that are super compelling that we haven't even really touched on because of all the big picture stuff that is super compelling. I do like, for our YouTube audience, if you look at our banner here, we did a episode earlier this season on the C word. We're going to do a little episode today on the F word.
Yes, we are.
In honor of Ben Johnson.
It's so funny, to your point about discovering new things or things that, are easy to push off to the side other than the massive headlines of the game. And I think we're all scurrying to do that. Like literally before we came on the air, I was clarifying something with you guys. I was like, Montez Sweat on that final Packers drive on the 2nd and 15, I think it was, Sweat gets a paw up on Jordan Love, affects the pass. But that's just another example of like the many little things throughout the game that I am, just like you, Dan, trying to still get a hold of and make sense of this game. Because as you and I did our walk and talk out of the locker room and up to the press box, and if you want to listen to that, that's in our previous episode. First time Dan and I have done that, but why not take advantage of it? You and I were kind of at a loss for words, like trying to really figure out what happened. Even though we had been in the locker room and been in the interview room, I don't think anybody in that locker room knew exactly what happened other than what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was a loss of clarity, right? You're just trying to sort through it all. And it's like if we were given a report to the police for an incident report, it would be like, I don't know, sir. I'm really not sure what I just saw. It was crazy. I think this happened. I'm pretty sure this happened. I'm not sure if I'm remembering it clear. I mean, that's the kind of night it was. And Grote, it was that way an hour before kickoff until 2 hours after the final play was run. That's the kind of night it was. I mean, you were there watching even before the game started. Soldier Field turned into an absolute snow globe with that crazy weather front that moved in. It turned warmups into this really scenic thing, and then the snow stopped. And then before the game gets started, we've got this little skirmish at midfield with the two teams jawing at one another. And there was just so much electricity in the environment, so much, whatever you want to call it. It was there, it was in the air. And then obviously it results in this game where the Bears rally from down 21-3 at halftime. It's a slow rally, let's be honest, because the third quarter wasn't much of a rally as much as they tried to turn the tides there. And then they score those 25 points in the fourth quarter, leaving you to just completely scratch your head, shake your head, try to do anything to your head that gives you a little bit more understanding of what all that was.
Yeah, and I don't know where your adrenaline is, Dan, in terms of crashing, because we were all like, look, the average reporter and probably fan too, for that matter. On that night, I got to bed at 4:00 in the morning. I did, of course, I slept in a little bit, but I had business to attend to yesterday. Today, as we're recording this on a Monday, I did the Rahimi Harrison Grote show on the Score, like we do, talking Bears the whole time. And then on my walk home, I'm still at like a 9. I tried just blasting music. I was just pumping System of a Down through my system and my ears, a little Rage Against the Machine, just trying to, I don't know, like I need that energy to go somewhere. It hasn't stopped yet. I know there's going to be a crash at some point in time, but I am still feeling all of that right now.
I might be in the middle of the crash, to be honest with you. I told my wife today that I'm feeling a level of fatigue that is extreme for what it's been in recent weeks. Look, like Cole Kmet, when he joined us last week on the Take the North Live episode on the Score, was talking about the first Green Bay game that Saturday night during the regular season and how long it took him to get past the emotional discharge, I guess, or whatever you want to say, that he put forth into that game, and how tiring it was and how wired you were initially. And then you're just trying to to regroup. I got home, I think, right around 3:00
Mhm.
on I guess that would be Sunday morning at that point. My wife said, she's like, when you came to bed, I looked at my watch and it was like 3:55. I was like, yeah, like I got in the door and I was wired. I had been living inside my own world for the previous 3+ hours writing my own story. And I'm like, man, I got to see what other people are saying. I got to see what's on social media. I got to watch some of these videos, and like, you're just in it. And you're like, man, I gotta fully immerse myself in all of the stuff that happened on this night for everyone involved with this football game. And it was a fascinating ride. Let's just say that.
Yeah, there's that almost a little bit of FOMO, like fear of missing out. Right, you're right. Like I gotta
Right.
get. As I was walking home from Soldier Field, yes, I was I hadn't heard the good, better, best speech at that point. I had not heard any of the stuff. I hadn't seen Caleb Williams grating cheese on the set after that. I hadn't seen any of that. So yeah, there's so many places you got to go, and I guess this is a good place right now to go into that because Ben Johnson was epic in every way, shape, and form. F the Packers. And before the good, better, best, this head coach is giving you what you want as far as the Green Bay Packers, the best at it since Mike Ditka. All the other coaches between Mike Ditka and Ben Johnson, you feel like they did it because they had to. I think Ben Johnson really feels this, or at least has really bought in to Bears Packers, unlike any coach since Mike Ditka.
Well, that's it. And I wrote that big story last week on Ben and the impact he's had here in his first season. And one of the quotes in there that I loved was Jonah Jackson, the Bears guard, saying, that Ben's got a little Shawn Michaels in him. There's a little bit of WWE style flair to the way he gives these post-game presentations that catches people's attention. But I don't think unlike the WWE, I don't think any of it is manufactured, not an ounce of it. I think he genuinely feels this type of passion, this type of animosity, this type of attachment to a rivalry that he knows what it means to this city and this ownership group and this team. And he's just fully immersed in it. And if we've learned anything about Ben over the last 12 months, it's that he immerses himself in things, right? Like, and this is a full immersion in this Bears Packers rivalry. We're just about a year out from him starting his time as a Bears coach, saying he sure does enjoy beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. And then you've got this whole situation where he does beat Matt LaFleur twice a season, including with a season-ending, knockout punch that the Bears land on Saturday night. And so you get that, right, Grote? You get this period after the game where he's still so supercharged and he's addressing the players in the locker room, and he just starts it off with his normal hell yeah, and then it's also a bleep the Packers, and it's just it is so sincere. I guess we've got a few audio clips to play. So we'll start here with a little Ben on Monday, because he was asked, a series of questions about the way he reacted Saturday night and what this rivalry means to him. Let's take a quick sampling with this first bit of audio from Ben Johnson.
It's a big game, first playoff game at home in a while. And, we hadn't won a playoff game in 15 years or so. But certainly the opponent in and of itself, it means a lot to the city, this organization. And that's something that we certainly play into a little bit as coaches and players. Is we know how big it is when Chicago plays Green Bay.
What did you make of the skirmish before the game at the 50?
Yeah, so no one wants to see that. That's not, both teams are highly charged. That's just, it's not something that we want.
Beyond go ahead. I was going to say, people have talked about, like, between you and LaFleur, the 2 wins things, the handshakes. Beyond, getting this important playoff win, why is this important to you, or is there something personal beyond that?
This is a rivalry, and the city of Chicago, Green Bay, it needs to be a rivalry.
So I love that first piece of sound, Grote, because it is Ben Johnson just laying it out. This is a rivalry. Rivalries aren't supposed to be friendly. They're supposed to have an edge to them. And I thought the Bears had a choice last week to either lean in to all this edge and animosity that they were feeling with some of the thoughts that they heard from players and coaches up in Green Bay, or to put on the whatever you want to call it, the cliche earmuffs and blinders, and like, this is about us, we're focused on us. And they chose the former. They chose to lean into this. And I think that was clearly evident in the way that Saturday unfolded, and then in some of the things we heard after the game.
Well, yeah, and we played Kevin Byard on the podcast after the game, and he was basically had busted out all his receipts about all the stuff that was being said by the defensive coordinator and everybody that they wanted the Bears. Like, he just went through all of it, and I appreciate it when athletes are straightforward and honest about stuff that we kind of know already, but usually they don't make it public. In this case, there is so much realness going on that Kevin Byard couldn't help himself. As far as the 50-yard line stuff, Dan, I get what, of course, Ben Johnson said the right thing. Like, you can't have that. Like, you can't promote something like that. I loved it. And look, order was restored quickly. Nobody got hurt. It didn't get out of control.
It was a little college-like, right? Like, it was a little
Yes.
college-like.
Yeah. Or what you said at the beginning of the WWE. That's what it felt like. It was all like nobody was going to get out of control. The players knew that, but just to come and kind of say hello, if you will, at the 50-yard line, I thought it was spectacular.
I'm with you. It was a little bit of a collective agreement between the two sides that this thing is on, right? Like, this is on right now. Let's go. The combat is about to start. I think it's a little bold and a little bit risky by the Packers. Obviously, it worked in their favor because they got out to a 21-3 advantage. But you do that in an environment as charged as Soldier Field was. You're giving that crowd a little bit of life. Not that they needed much, but you're giving them life with that. I did see today on the part of the TV broadcast that I have gotten to that Matt LaFleur was there during part of the midfield, whatever you want to call it, skirmish, ruckus, is a commotion,
Sure.
whatever you want to call it.
Kerfuffle.
And he did not seem to be calming it down. He was kind of there also just as a member of, like, hey, we're here tonight. Let's do this, right? It's the way it should be. It's a long lost thing in sports for rivalries to have this attached to it. Certainly in Chicago, we haven't felt it in a while because the Packers have beat the Bears' ass for 30 years.
It's so true. What else you got from our guy, Ben Johnson? This is like almost like a mini listen to this episode starring Dan Wiederer.
Well, just unpacking it a little bit on Monday here, you also get Ben being reminded that this has gone viral now. The Bears put it out on their own social media channels in that post-game celebration video where he does say F the Packers. And so that's going to get up to Green Bay. And they obviously had team approval to get that up to Green Bay as soon as possible. And so there's a little choice to be made here because George McCaskey dislikes two things in life. He dislikes cursing and he dislikes the Green Bay Packers. And so he's got a choice to make in this decision. Adam Johns asked Ben Johnson about the viral moment. Here's that back and forth.
Like I said before, there's a rivalry that exists between these two teams, something that I fully recognize and I'm a part of. And I don't like that team. So George and I have talked, and we're on the same page.
Dan, can you tell us how that conversation went? You've got a better George McCaskey than I do.
So, like, we will hopefully, fingers crossed, get a chance to talk to George when the season ends. So we're within weeks, or maybe more than a month now, depending on what happens on this playoff ride. It's going to be awesome to be able to ask him that question. Like, your head coach literally stood in the locker room and said, "Bleep the Packers" to your entire team. What was your reaction? And I would imagine George would say, "I wholeheartedly agree."
I mean, we all, like, Bears fans.
I wouldn't use that language, but I agree.
I mean, look, it's the Bears' 7th playoff win since 1985. It's a playoff win. Anything goes. We had but Dan, our executive producer, is Adam Studzinski. When it came his turn to talk, he said that Caleb Williams is a effing star, although he didn't say effing, and he was just effing, apologizing to our friend Deion Miller, of course. But I was like, dude, it's a playoff win in an improbable year. If you want to drop a bunch of F-bombs, you go right the bleep ahead.
So we did have a chance on Monday to ask Tremaine Edmonds about his reaction to that moment and his coach becoming a character in this rivalry in a way where he was comfortable enough to drop that F the Packers directive. And this was what Tremaine said about that moment.
It was definitely a turned up moment. Like, you could just see the energy in the locker room. You know what I mean? Like, everybody was like, okay, Ben got a little swag by himself. You know what I mean? But I mean, we all put a lot into this. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to, kind of just, act off your true emotions and your true personality. I mean, I think that's what it was for him. Hopefully, I don't know if he's having regrets about it, but, I know the fans loved it. I know just everybody that about this rivalry that we've been talking about. It goes so far back. Like, there's a lot of emotion built up into it. And any time that you win in that fashion, like you got to show a little bit of emotion for sure.
It seemed like there was a lot of chatter even before the game and after the game with the Packers kind of, saying they're going to be back next week. And then after the game, not giving you credit, saying this stuff that we did. I mean, can you admit that it's like personal on a certain level?
I mean, it's football, man. It's playoff football. These are the times that you dream of as a kid, playing against your rival, being under them lights, prime time, like the whole world watching, like, personal is what football is. You got to take everything personal on that football field. So I don't care who we playing. You know what I mean? That's how you got to attack the game, because at the end of the day, don't nobody care about none of these problems we got going on. When it's time to strap up, we got to go out there. We got to do our thing. So, it was just that type of game. And you felt that energy just when we walked in that tunnel. You know what I mean? Parking my car, I'm like, okay, it's time. Like, just the energy in the air. I mean, you could feel it. And that's what you look forward to.
It's cool to hear that, Grote. That you can still feel it 48 hours later, that team was still just immersed in what that was Saturday night, and to be able to come out on top obviously gives them a lot more juice going forward.
And it is personal. It is. I mean, with the stuff going back and forth, this is the playoffs, man. This is money, literally money. You know what I mean? This is guys get extra checks, get a nice little bonus for winning these games. It's about getting to the Super Bowl. So it is personal. And that was made very clear by Tremaine Edmonds. It was made very clear by Kevin Byard, like I said, and many of the players in that locker room. One thing I wonder about Ben Johnson with this, like, it's a fluid situation. We are learning Ben Johnson every single week. We are learning more about him, whether it's taking the shirt off or F the Packers, what moves this guy, or airing out his team after the finale loss to Detroit. I do wonder, like, when the players go home to their respective families, to their wives, their girlfriends, their kids, like, do the wives, are they like, at some point in time, are they like, is he okay? And I can imagine the players being like, I think so. He's a little bit crazy, but it's a good crazy, and he's our crazy. I mean, I'm sure the players are still, to some degree, and I mean this in the best possible way, still trying to figure out the unpredictable nature of Ben Johnson's emotions.
I think why they love him at this stage is because he's so genuine, right? And so every emotion that he expresses is genuine, and you can feel that every single day. And you heard it in that Tremaine Edmonds clip. They're looking at him and going, man, he's got a little swag about himself here. He's really feeling this again. And again, it's not manufactured, which is what guys rally around. And so, look, like, it's crazy here. I dug up this stat. The Bears on Saturday night scored their third win over the Packers in 370 days. Prior to that surge, you would have had to go back to 2013 to find the previous 3 victories. All right. So the reason that this rivalry has an edge to it again is because the Bears are back. The Bears are winning. The Bears are a successful team that has put their fingerprints back on this rivalry. That's what creates the edge first and foremost. And then you get the chance to pour the kerosene on the fire that you create after you win a little bit and you serve notice to them that, as Caleb Williams said, we're here and we're not going anywhere for a little while. And so that's the fun part of this, is that the Bears are genuinely competitive, and you can feel that shift in the momentum of the entire rivalry. I also ran these numbers in the post Mike Ditka era. The head coach of the Chicago Bears with the most wins against the Packers is Lovie Smith, obviously, with 8. Second is Ben Johnson, tied with Dick Duran with 2. Okay. Wow. So wrap your brain around that for a minute.
That is really incredible, and I love it. I know we're very much in the now, or in the known, as the Bears so much like to say, but it is thrilling to think about this division. Look, it was nice. Like my and yours too, I think, Dan. I'm a little bit older, but my Bears sports consciousness definitely was alive in the 1980s, but they were in a crap division in the 1980s. It's one of the things, like, it was really bad. Like, the Bears rolled over Green Bay, Detroit. It was always a nice trip to Tampa Bay. Yes, kids, Tampa Bay was in the NFC Central at one point in time. Minnesota was the one team that gave the Bears some competition during the 80s. And look, I liked it that you could assume on having 2 wins from all of those teams. It made life easy. It was an easy entrance into the playoffs every year for the Bears, considering that immense talent that they had. I love it, though, that this division is so crazy competitive, that the Bears and as much as I joke and say it, the Packers aren't going anywhere. The Packers are going to be good again next year. I don't know like how things will be augmented and changed, and then Micah Parsons isn't going anywhere. Jordan Love isn't going anywhere. It's still a talented team. And then you've got Detroit, which is going to have a huge chip on its shoulder going into next year. And even Minnesota, which I thought was all over the place this year, finished strong. So it's so fun to think about the now, but it's also fun to think about the future of this division and knowing that the Bears have the quarterback and the head coach that can take you into this next decade.
It's just heartening to know that you can swing and throw some punches that when they land, they really sting. You know what I mean? And the Bears have landed some punches this year that have really stung some people. A couple 80s notes, since you brought up the 80s. For those in our age demographic, you brought up Tampa being in the old NFC Central. And I remember getting on a plane to Tampa, probably 2015, if I'm doing my own math correctly. And Mongo was sitting in first class on the plane to Tampa, and the woman got on wearing one of the creamsicle Buccaneers jersey. And he's like, "Oh, baby, do I love seeing that color jersey. It just reminds me of all the times we kicked your ass." Bears bluster that they earned and the right to do. And then last week, I was picking my son and his friend up from basketball practice, and I was listening to on replay a Spiegel and Holmes show where they were talking about the Charles Martin hit on Jim McMahon. Obviously, in 1986, it helped to derail the 86 Bears. Why we talk about the 85 Bears is because Charles Martin didn't allow us to talk about the 80s Bears, by doing that to Jim McMahon, and they played the old Les Grobstein clip.
I heard it. Yeah.
The kids in the car were like practically peeing their pants laughing, where Les said, "Charles Martin, God rest his soul, but may he burn in hell for eternity."
Burn in hell. A lot of people think it was no big deal. Charles Martin is the worst.
May he rest in peace, but I hope he burns in hell for eternity, whatever it was.
So great.
So that's what you want, right? Like, you want to feel like you're a part of something where there is a little bit of animus to everything. And so the Bears are competitively feisty again. What a game on Sunday night. And then just to give you a little tidbit from today up at Haugh, Drew Dahlman did offer up a nugget that Case Keenum addressed the team on Monday. Case Keenum obviously was the author of the Minneapolis Miracle in 2018, a playoff win that was unforgettable. And he was reminding the players today that the next game comes for you really quick. And so while you're feeling this emotional high, and while it's really hard to sort of recalibrate your emotions after a victory that is that exhilarating, it comes for you quick. After Drew Dahlman shared that with us, I went back and looked. What did the Vikings do the following week? Well, they went to Philly for the NFC Championship game, and they got their doors blown off. It was 38-7. They had a chance to go to the Super Bowl that was being played in their home stadium that year, and the Eagles said, no thank you, and sent them right to the exits. And so that is one of those cold, hard reminders that, like, this game Sunday is coming for you quick. And while this is going to be really the signature of your season, you better be ready to reset. Otherwise, this journey is going to end really quickly.
Well, and that reminds me too of something, and we're going to do some 3-word reviews here in a second. Plus, Dan has yet to give out a game ball. Studs and I gave out our game balls. We'll refresh you on who we gave them to, but I'm going to let Dan give out his game ball for this game. One thing that I'll shut up about now is 2018 and 2001, because I was worried about that with the Bears. That if they had gotten eliminated in the first round of the playoffs, all the magic would have been for naught. Like 2018, when they get obviously beaten by Philadelphia. Both years were by Philadelphia. 2001, they get Hugh Douglas in that game, and Jim Miller almost got killed. So I'm glad that I can stop using that analogy. and I felt like I did think, halfway, I'd say maybe 10, 11 games into this season, like, okay, this is different. This is not those teams because there was legitimate offense. But at least I'm glad that I didn't want to put the 2025, 2026 Bears in the same category with 2018 and 2001, and now I don't have to.
Well, I'll also say this, because the Eagles lost to the 49ers on Sunday. It brings the Rams to Soldier Field this week. And so the Bears don't have to worry about a rematch with Philly, which would not only have been a rematch of Black Friday from this season, it would have been a rematch of 2001 and 2018. And it's like, how many demons do you want this group to try to exercise in a month's time? And so they don't have to deal with that. I think that's probably more for us on the outside than the guys inside the building, but at least it removes that little part of the equation this week. I did want to ask you one question before we moved on too quickly. When we're talking about Ben, the handshake, it's obviously been a story in all three meetings against the Packers, but what was your post-video review of that exchange?
All right. Here's where I land on that. Like, for the most part, I do appreciate it. Like, and like, it's petty and it's fun, and it's as we're talking about, it juices up the rivalry. I'm really trying to figure out, though, where it seems personal, and I don't know that it has to be personal. Like, there is a part of me where I'm like, just give the guy a handshake. It's all good. Like, I shouldn't sympathize with Matt LaFleur, but I will say, after I saw that, I was blown away, because I didn't see it. It was one of those videos I didn't see until after the podcast. I was told about it by Marshall.
Right.
He described it, and he described it well. But part of me was like, just shake the guy's head. It's okay. That's the way I felt.
You watched it 5 or 6 times, because the first couple times you're like, wait a minute, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing here? And it like, the posture of it wasn't good, right? Like, it wasn't a good look for Ben Johnson. It's one of those ones that, like, as someone who coaches on a much lower level, I know when emotions get the best of you, and then you have to get home and you have to tell your family, like, I'm sorry I behaved that way. That was not a good look for us, right? Like, that's on all of us, and it's my fault, and I'm sorry for that, right? And like, so like, I can relate to Ben being caught up in the heat of the moment, but I think if you got him on Truth Serum off to the side, he'd say, yeah, I kind of wish that at least the posture of the handshake was a little bit, because he kind of leaned in and his mouth was open, and it just like, it was not graceful, particularly at a moment where you've earned the grace to just be like, congratulations on a good season. And then you walk away and you go, hell yeah,
you got him. You got him. You already got him. You got this. I'm so glad I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Now, I will say that you see the reaction from Packers fans across social media to that and other things, and you're like, boy, these people are really sensitive right now. They're really whiny. They're really unnerved.
I don't care.
And this is my conclusion on that. That fan base, Mark Grote, has spent 3+ decades with Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they have no idea how difficult life in the NFL is when you don't have those guys. I said to someone in the building today, I was like, they are about to experience this world where you're changing coaches. You're changing quarterbacks. You're going 7-10. You're going 10-7. You're regressing to 6. Like, it's coming for them, and they don't know what it is. They don't know how to react to it. And it's going to be fascinating to see them try to get in a roller coaster that they've never ridden before, because what you're seeing in the aftermath of these last 2 Bears wins over them is like, oh God, what is this? Like, oh God. And particularly, as you mentioned before, I'll use this as a segue into my game ball. When you have Caleb Williams capable of doing what Aaron Rodgers used to do to the Bears, that's got to be absolutely traumatic on the other side, being like, oh my God, they're coming for us now.
Yeah, at the very least, yeah, they have real competition now from the Chicago Bears, even if they don't drop off, so to speak, which I think that there are some reasons to think that they might just do that. But yeah, I will, like, the whiny Packers fans and trying to like put it saying the Bears got lucky and all this stuff. There could be a degree of that, but worry about your own team right now is what I would say to the Packers fans.
You also know how consistent I've been in my evaluation of Jordan Love over time. And I think he's a decent quarterback, pretty good. I don't think he's tier 1. And I feel like he's been put on a pedestal over the last several seasons just because of the helmet he wears, right? Like, if he was the same quarterback but playing for Tennessee, he wouldn't get the same acclaim he gets. But because he followed Favre, because he followed Rodgers, it's like, oh, he's just the next. He's just the next one. And he's not. Folks, he's not the next one, and he's going to try to fashion a productive and successful career. But I think what we're seeing over the last few years is the Packers have gotten 7 seeds, and they've gotten bumped from the playoffs fairly early, that they don't have that guy right now, and they're going to have to learn how to live with that. And Bears fans obviously can give them a manual. I don't think they will on how to cope and how to deal with that. That's a very real thing, right? Like, it's a very real thing.
It is. I even said on the score. So Packers fans, you guys want to call up? We'll tell you how to act, what you need to do, what you might need to buy, the sleep that you need to get. There's a few over the counter things that, the stages. Marijuana is legal in the city of Chicago. We can calm you down. We'll take care of you, whatever you need. Dan, I am very anxious to. Do you want to know who our game balls were, or do you want to shout yours out real quick?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Caleb Williams gets the game ball. That is, as he said after the game, the regular season is for making your money. The postseason is for making your name. That was a legacy win on Saturday night. It really was. Now you've got to add to that. That can't be your only postseason win for the next 6 years, but that's certainly a good start. That's a playoff debut that no one will ever forget. And it creates that swell of belief. And that's what Caleb's been doing all year, is creating that swell of belief. I said it with you earlier today on the score that even defensively, when you know that guy's on your side, there's a psychological lift when you're down 21-3 of being like, we're not out of this. We've got an offense that can put up points in a hurry. And if we just keep giving them opportunities and keep this game within reach, we could walk out of here winners. That's a huge deal, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that have come here in the past that 21-3 at halftime, it would have been like, we're screwed. And, there's no chance we're scoring 31 points tonight.
All right, let me bring on Senior F-Bomb, a.k.a. Adam Studzinski. Let's see if he's calmed down a little bit. I understand that there's been a little exchange with our great friend Dion Miller from ABC7, who taught us early and often that we shouldn't swear on the podcast, at least a lot. Where it's appropriate, I still will from time. But for the most part, she's right. I mean, I don't want to turn anybody off. But
did Dion file a formal complaint?
Well, Adam, tell us what happened. What happened?
No. It's just yesterday, one of the videos we had on social media, Dion responded and tagged me in and said apology accepted for the swearing. It was totally warranted. So,
okay.
It's a get out of jail free card from Dion.
Yeah.
But don't let it happen again. If the Bears win this next game, it's just going to be this F-bomb festival, I do believe, on Take the North.
And I think that look, I mean, even if they beat the Rams, it would be great. Go to the NFC Championship. It won't feel this good though. It's just it can't possibly feel this good again. Like, it's just, this is one that, I mean, for 48 hours I've been celebrating. Like, there's no possible way to celebrate this enough. And frankly, if there are any Packers fans out there listening, and listen, I'm sorry, this is the last time I'll swear a lot. Fuck you, fuck your team,
wow,
fuck your coach, and fuck your quarterback. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
Clip that for your little Instagram stories, okay? Never mind us. Why don't you put that up there and see what the reaction is from the
now we've got shots fired. I mean, those are shots fired, and Studs takes a few of those there. I will say this also, Grote. Tremaine Edmonds today, in talking about how the defense kind of regrouped in the second half, said it wasn't necessarily strategic adjustments, it was a mentality adjustment. And he said, you just kind of look around at each other in the huddle and say, we ain't going out like this. And I was like, maybe Tremaine is listening to the Take the North podcast. He's listening to the Cypress Hill lead that we gave him for Packers Week. And we ain't going out like that.
Shout out. If Tremaine, if you're look at me, Tremaine, if you're listening, thank you. Thank you. Look. Actually, the best three, you know what? Let's do some 3-word reviews. And actually, this is not 3 words. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-word review, which I thought were the best 5 words I heard on Sunday. As Rome Odunze is coming off the field and heading to the locker room where the big scrum of us are hanging out. Rome Odunze said, Dan, y'all should know by now. That is awesome. As in, you should know that we were going to score 25 points in the fourth quarter. You should know that we weren't going to lose when we were down 21-3. You should know that when Matthew Golden gets that annoying touchdown was the third quarter or the fourth quarter? There was a fourth quarter to put the Packers up 27-16. You should have known that the Bears were going to come back. I didn't know, but I should listen to Roma Dunze.
Remember that little anecdote I shared from the Cincinnati locker room in November, where it was like walking in and making eye contact with Caleb, and he just kind of gave that little, words were not needed. It was just kind of like, like this is what it is. And so like that's where we are now. All these comebacks later, seven victories that way. And maybe one of the better stats I saw on Sunday afternoon was that the Bears are now 3-3 in games when they've been trailing by 10 points or more in the final 5 minutes. The rest of the NFL this year, 3-158.
Wow. Senior F-bomb is back, by the way. Now what?
Yeah. All right. I got to stop swearing because I don't want to get in a bad habit, when we do our job on the radio.
Yeah, come on, man. We're trying to run a clean operation here.
I did dig up some 3-word reviews from Saturday night from responding to Dan's typical post-game tweet. So there's some good ones. I'll just run them down basically in order. Old friend Rich Campbell, never packed in. Someone named Y2, divine intervention.
Remind me to come back to that one. I like that he split that up into 3 words.
Intervention.
Scott Bayer. I'm kind of guessing on that
Scott
one.
Bear. Yeah,
no, it's not him.
It's not the Scott Bear, but it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
maybe
Scott Baio, Chachi from Happy Days.
Baier is how he spells his last name. We'll say Bear. Scott Bear. Green Bay sucks.
Never goes out of style.
Yeah. Bears Beeves says never a doubt.
We've had that one a lot. We've had some form of knew it,
Yep.
all that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And we'll go with a couple more here. Dilemma said press box shaking.
Yep.
And
confirmed.
Yes. And Todd Peterson says the dream continues.
Okay, Todd. Good stuff.
That dream.
By the way, Dan, I think you will appreciate this. As we record on this Monday, it was 40 years ago today on the Monday that the Bears beat the Rams 24-0 in the NFC title game, which was in the year 1986, the game before they won the Super Bowl in New England. Of course, that game famous for Richard Dent with the strip sack of Dieter Brock, and then Wilbur Marshall scoops and scores with big snowflakes falling all over the place, my friend.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have a chance for some more cold weather here this weekend. We'll see what it looks like with the Rams. Back to that divine intervention review for a minute. This was a topic that came up before the game on Saturday. I got the opportunity to sit right next to old friend Mark Potash, who was filling in for the first time this year. He was back in the press box, as you know. Great to see him.
So good to see him. I was emotional.
So I'm sitting beside him for the whole game, and we all know Potsy's wit, and we also know his Bears cynicism over time, and so I was just joking. I was like, "You still not a believer here? They've won the division. They're here playing the Packers." And he's like, "I don't know." And I was like, "What do you think about the suggestion that Virginia McCaskey's pulling some strings up there in heaven? What do you think about that?" And he's like, "Man, yeah, if that was a factor, man, like." What were George Halas and Muggs Halas and Mike McCaskey doing all these years? You'd think they'd be a little bit quicker to be able to get some help from up there if that was actually the case. So leave it to Potsy to put that spin on things. My colleague at The Athletic, Dan Pompei, is actually working on a piece that will run this week about all of the magical breaks that the Bears have gotten this season that seem like they can't be just pure luck because there's been too much of it this year. So really looking forward to reading that. Dan's so good at everything he does that's going to be a really good story when this thing goes on.
Does he interview the Pope for this? Because I think that has something to do with it.
Hey, Pope Leo, he's probably a listener to Take the North. And I said, in the second Mongo reference on this podcast, I said, maybe it's Mongo because he's got enough, of a loud voice to be able to get people's attention up there. Like, hey, baby, we need a Bears win today. Let's get this thing going.
Here, McMichael is on time, man. God, this is so fun, man. We do got to get out of here. But Dan, anything else before we trust me, like we'll get into the Rams matchup and all of that stuff. There's so much, a full week out at Haugh with players and coaching. We're going to bring it all to you here on the Take the North podcast.
Yeah, the last thing I will say is that the Bears won the kicker battle Saturday night, and it's a little underrated storyline with Brandon McManus getting iced at the end of the first half, missing 3 kicks on the night, and Cairo having a really good night in hard conditions and making a 50-plus there that sealed it. That was one of those that you get to Monday and you're like, oh, yeah. We talked about special teams, and we talked about that whole subplot, and boy, the Bears did come on top in that regard.
Cairo Santos, 3 of 3 and a 51-yarder. Your guy McManus missed 2 field goals and an extra point. Yeah, no, that is definitely worth bringing up. That was a huge part of it, and Cairo looked confident as hell out there. That's going to do it for us today. For Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, for Senior F-Bomb, Adam Studzinski, our executive producer, I am Mark Grote of 670 The Score. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.